Evening, America. Contra-Dictions, episode 4, coming back at you live and direct. I got Glennon with me. I got Kenny with me. Before we get started and jump right into things, I just want to find out how my co-hosts are doing. Glenn, Kenny, how are my family doing tonight?
Oh, man, I'm doing very well. Blessed. Lot going on. Again, a lot to sink our teeth into tonight. We got all sorts of stuff, but I'm doing very well. How about you, Kenny?
Me personally, health-wise, I'm good. My kids are good. I did get a little bit. I ended up going live earlier by myself on Facebook because I was slow at work, and so I got on there, and it got me heated for tonight. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go live, because I feel like it's the right moment.
There are a lot of things going on right now, a lot to talk about. Before we get really into the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty real quick, let's do a little recap, right? So Monday, we saw the incident. Tuesday, the 4 cops were fired. Wednesday, Trump asked to have the FBI expedite this case. Thursday, the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI in Minneapolis said they were conducting a robust criminal investigation into Floyd's death and making this case a priority. And then Mayor Frey came out and asked Governor Tim Walz to activate the National Guard because of the riots and the loots, which we will get into, the looting going on. And early this morning, Trump sent out those tweets, still kind of controversial. That's the way he is. We all know that. I don't think he meant any disrespect to the African-American nation. I think he was more directly focusing on what was going on in the community in Minneapolis, but we will also get into that. Right now, we did have a lot of videos circulating out there now. The most recent videos, the ones from TMZ that show you the exact what happened to Floyd when he was getting ready to get put into the truck, and then something happened. They shut the door and then slammed him up against the truck, the police truck, and that's the only thing I've seen different thus far. I'd really like to see how he got slammed to the ground. Not that that makes a difference at all, obviously, but there is a lot that we haven't seen. So saying all that and recapping everything, Kenny, we'll start with you tonight. What do you think, man? What's going on?
Well, one of the things that I heard that you didn't mention was that when the guy had his knee on his neck, there was actually 3 other police officers that were holding him down behind the car.
With their knees.
What'd you say?
Yes.
With their knees.
Correct.
Yeah, so as Officer Chauvin had his knee in his neck, there were 2 other officers with their knees in his back, and then probably around his butt area, like his upper back and lower back, essentially. And then of course we had the Asian officer that was, being an egotistical asshole, if you ask me.
No question. Pushing people back for no reason.
And then he was crazy. He pushed the one guy and then said, "Don't touch me." And they're like, "You pushed me."
He seemed like he was trying to instigate a little bit there in the end of the video, of that 8-minute long video everybody's seen.
Ego problems, man. Cops with ego problems. It never works out well.
Nope. And so I guess the way that I would start off my frustration level and where I want to go with it, and we can go wherever, but a couple main things. One, we will never get anywhere until the police themselves. As a Marine, you know as well as I do, Fred, if Fred's effing up, then, hey, that's on me too. That's why you go through training that way. They punish the whole group if somebody's an idiot, because we are the first line of defense against not acting the right way. And it was always on us to lock each other up if somebody wasn't right. You weren't going to wait until somebody comes along and tells you what you got to do, or you're caught on tape. Like, no. Like, right off break, you are policing yourselves. And we have and
in some instances, you pull them to the side. You don't break out in front of everybody. But when it demands it, like this instance.
But Fred, I mean, somebody walks across a blade of grass and you hear, "Hey, devil dog, somebody fucked up," right? I mean, you're going to get caught out. It doesn't always need to be that level. Sometimes you pull aside, but you call that person out. Anybody, and I'm obviously still hot about the whole situation. I think hopefully those charges, I have a problem with them. I think they should be worse. I have not done the research on what their murder policies are, but there needs to be more of them for the guys standing around. But I do want to get to today, wherever our discussion takes us, I want to be understanding of the plight of certain people in this country that are extremely passionate, and to the point where I do understand the mindset that may go into throwing a fire stick and burning something down, feeling like, you know, I've felt the way myself have felt where somebody tells me you're a piece of crap, and I'm like, oh, I'm a piece of crap. I'll show you I'll be a piece of crap. So I understand some of that mentality there, but I want us to get to a point where we can hear answers that can go, you know what, let's all use this energy and passion towards not going, well, you like Kaepernick, you didn't appreciate it, it's your fault. No, it's this police officer's fault, and it's all of our faults for not joining together sooner. And maybe it was the society wasn't ready for it, but I believe that we are ready for it. I think we need to have a coordinated thing that goes after certain laws. I think we're over litigated. We've talked about this in other videos, but that amount of police interaction is going to lead to more and more issues, and that's where I start. So.
Can you hear Fred?
No, Fred, we can't hear you.
Freddie, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no worries.
And I think that's where we need to go next, right? I think emotions are riding real high right now. People are upset, and justifiably so, right? But Glenn, are we doing things the right way? Do we need to do things a little different? How do you feel, brother? Let me know.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's really a case of right and wrong. And, you know, just to kind of touch on what's going on specifically in Minneapolis, the riots, the burning down of buildings, the looting of targets, you know, I found myself debating with my wife about it because, you know, my wife's white, you know, not that matters, but she was saying, well, if they're making themselves look bad by looting the Target, you know, like that has nothing to do with it. And yeah, like she's right. Like the rational thought is, yes, the Target has nothing to do, but it's like when you're pissed, you're not thinking about that. You're pissed. And it's like, you can't ask people to be mad and politically correct. Like if it's in Minneapolis, it's getting fucked up. That's how people feel right now, right? They're not thinking, oh, well, the Target didn't have anything to do with it. They're not being selective, you know what I mean? So like,
right.
It's you know, so, but personally, there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and it's really sad. Like there was just a car that was set on fire in Atlanta. I'm sure you probably heard about it. There's actually been quite a few instances going on in cities all over the country where Black people we're at that boiling point. We're tired of seeing videos of people being brutalized by cops. And it's not just white cops either. I mean, it's Hispanic cops that are doing it. We got the Asian guy. You know, we're just sick of it. And I think really what's the boiling point in this particular case is that the George Floyd case echoes Eric Garner so much. And the cops got off for that. And I'm just like, you know, I just feel like the you know, Black America is just like, no, it's not going to happen again. So I'm glad that, for one, I'm glad that he was fired. Officer Derek Chauvin, or Chavert, or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm glad that he was fired. I'm glad that he is being charged. I do not in any way think that third-degree murder and manslaughter is justice at all. At all. I mean, he was handcuffed the entire time. Like you said, Fred, I don't know exactly what happened, but he was slammed to the ground in handcuffs. So
here's another thing for us, right? The videos that I've seen, the first initial video was Floyd's truck parked on the side of that sidewalk.
Right.
And people were coming up to his vehicle. I don't know what they were doing at his vehicle, whether they were doing a transaction or what they were doing, but I'm assuming that led to someone calling in the forgery charge. The question I have is that when the cops showed up, there were two other people in his vehicle, a male and a female, both African-American. And when they were out of the car, they weren't even handcuffed. They weren't even like, there was nothing even remotely close to what they did to Floyd. So what the hell did Floyd say or do to justify what they did to him.
That's something that we'll
let
never
me just
know.
correct one thing real quick. Just real
Go
quick. All I want to say is, well, nothing he could have done justified anything. So justify might not have been the right word that you
Sorry
meant.
about that.
I
Yeah,
just
you're
wanted
right.
to catch that. What was it that happened that made him be treated so differently than the others?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to convey. Thank you.
Well, and it kind of alludes to, because the videos that we saw that came out on TMZ, the cop purposely muted it at some points. And I don't like it when police officers do that. Like, what is it that you're doing?
They shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, they shouldn't be able to do that. Like, I don't know why they even have that option. So
unless it's requested by me, because my civil rights say if I want you to shut it off, I'll tell you to shut it off, and you should have to, because you're not allowed to record me.
Absolutely.
But and not on your own. Hell no.
But I think it protects. I think it protects the cop in the suspect, right?
Well, cops are doing it to cover their own ass. You know what I mean? But I think if cops had the highest level of integrity and professionalism in mind at the time that they're doing their job, they shouldn't and wouldn't have to do that. And they shouldn't want to do that. Like, they should feel like it's protecting them as well too, like you said, Fred. So why would you want to mute that, right? Mm-hmm. So the TMZ video isn't really telling, because half of it is muted, and then a lot of the people are like blacked out. So it doesn't really show much. But again, I just wanted to talk about everything that's going on right now, because it's emotional. It's very emotional. And I have the ability, I'm a black man. Like, when I see this stuff, and again, I think when most of America saw George Floyd being murdered, they were enraged, because I know we've talked about it briefly before we started airing here, but I've never ever seen this many white people as enraged. I mean, protesting. There was just as many white people in the protest as black people. I don't know if you guys saw the article where one of the protesters was actually a white cop. In the last show, we had asked the question, or I had asked the question, where are all the good police at? There was just this huge, there was like a TikTok thing done and a Twitter thing done. It was like 130 police officers. I think only like 2 of them were black. All of them were white, good cops. And, they were just absolutely, they were just mind blown by what happened. And they were completely denouncing everything that Officer Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd. They had nothing to do with it. And you could tell, they were, they were fluid. A couple of them talking about going to George Floyd's funeral and showing their respects. And I'm really glad from what I'm seeing. But, this is the time where we have to come together, guys. America has to come together. I'm seeing a lot of right now. What I'm seeing is, and it's easier said than done, because it is emotional and it triggers a lot of emotion. But I'm just seeing a lot of virtual signaling and you're the good guy, I'm the bad, or I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy. I'm seeing a lot of, and I understand why people, and I've actually seen a lot of white people saying Black Lives Matter. And a part of me likes that now. And I understand it, because when Black Lives Matter first came about 6 years ago, when we had, when Trayvon Martin was killed, it was kind of and people don't look at it like this, but it was kind of a slap in the face. It was like, we came up with Black Lives Matter, and they came up with Blue Lives Matter. And then it was All Lives Matter. And it's like, well, no shit. Obviously, all lives matter, but all lives can't matter if Black lives don't, right? And we've seen time and time again where the justice system has let off cops for doing the job wrong, for murdering Black people. And just to touch on that really quick, third-degree murder and manslaughter is not enough. In Minnesota, the maximum sentence for third-degree murder is 25 years. That's the max. You can't get life. 25 years, you're eligible for parole after 7. And, he essentially, he could be walking free in 7 years. I don't think he'll ever be able to be a cop again, but I'm sure he'll be able to get some sort of job that has comparable pay. Cops make, what, $50,000, $60,000 a year? I'm sure he'd be able to find a job that pays that. And the devastation that this has done to the Floyd family, that's just not justice in my opinion. Because if the tables had been reversed, if George Floyd had murdered a cop, it wouldn't even be first-degree murder. It would be capital murder, right? So I'm just kind of sick of this two-sided, color-coded criminal justice system. and I might sound a little emotional or passionate right now. It does really piss me off, and I understand people's emotion behind it. But I try my best to allow myself not to get so emotional and to just stay within the facts and be constructive with this platform, with what we're doing, and with my energy, and come up with solutions instead of just, yeah, Black Lives Matter is great, but, what are we going to do with it? I also wanted to touch on well, actually, I'll go to you, Kenny. I'll see what you got.
All right, Kenny, before you dig in, Kenny, I think we should transfer real quick. There's a lot going on with social media, right? We got all these people voicing their opinions, which is a good thing. Most people, and I think 99.999% of people don't like what they saw Monday. No one is saying, hey, this was a good thing or this was justified. I have not seen that at all. What I have seen is people trying to compare this to other things and voicing their opinions, which they're entitled to do on social media. That's what it's there for. But I think they might be misconstruing some of the things to fit their argument. What do you think, Kenny?
First of all, they are, and I will get to that. I wanted to speak on a couple of things. First of all, let me explain, and this is really out to white people and maybe even more the conservative right. I want them to understand something. So for a long time, I started a page at a point called Dads Matter, right? And my whole point was that it's not that moms don't matter, right? But I watched Mother's Day. Everyone says Happy Mother's Day. I watched Father's Day. Half the people are saying to the moms who are moms and dads, Happy Father's Day. And, you can be a mom and be a crackhead and you're supposed to respect your mother. But a dad, you don't see him, and maybe he's trying to be there, and the mom's just not letting him. And people they have such a negative response to dads. So for me, I came out with Dads Matter because they weren't mattering, right? They weren't looked at like mothers were. So I hope that's clearer for white people who aren't getting it. When people say Black Lives Matter, it's still an all lives matter. It's just, hey, we matter too. My issue with the Black Lives Matter organization is that it wasn't really that. That's not what I saw within. If you go on their website, you guys can look it up on your own. There was a whole bunch of things that were not what I'm talking about as far as Black lives actually mattering. But I wanted to be clear because some people go, well, all lives matter. And, the same thing. Of course, all lives matter. But if you don't feel like your race matters, then that's why you're trying to bring focus to it. So I just kind of wanted an exclamation point, Glenn's remark on that. When he talked about the police, to me, seeing police on the news, and it's great on TikToks and everything, and their outrage, but to me, that is just all bullshit. It might not be, but to me, it's virtue signaling. I don't want to see it. You know what I wanted to see? I wanted to see a police officer say, hey, get the fuck off his neck. I got this. Like a more calm, emotionally controlled person saying, hey, you've lost your shit. You step aside. This guy can't breathe. We're going to get him up. We're going to get him some air. That's what I want to see. We have cameras out there. I want to see that more often. I actually thought we saw a little bit of that in the Ahmaud Arbery video where Ahmaud Arbery was, they say, harassed by 2 police officers. But I actually think one police officer played it very cool. The other one came up wanting to tase him. And I didn't think he was strong enough to say, hey, man, he doesn't need to be tased. But there's cops that do the right thing, and that's what I want to see. I want to see them doing the right thing in the moment, because anybody afterward can play the whole, man, if he'd have hit me, then what? I'd have stuck him, Everybody's got the post-game greatness. But when the time was there, did they do anything? And I want to see it happening. I don't want to see them talking about it. I want to see it happening. The last thing,
and just really quick, just to touch on that too, I totally agree. Couldn't agree more. And they haven't charged the other 3 officers yet, but I believe it will happen. They're talking about it. It sounds like they're leaning toward that direction. My only thing is, if they charge the actual guy that did the murder with only 3rd-degree murder and manslaughter, what are they going to charge these clowns with, right? Like,
So with
I'm
any
glad you brought that up.
Something.
Hold on, one more.
Nothing.
Go ahead.
One more thing that I didn't get to say, and Glenn kind of alluded to a good point that this kind of goes along with, is that I'm sorry, I know it sounds good, but killing a cop isn't different than me killing Fred, or somebody killing Glenn, or Glenn killing somebody, or me killing. It's not different, right? That cop's life is not more important than mine. It's not more important than Mr. Floyd's. It's not important. So that whole shit about having a different sentence, because you're exactly right. If Mr. Floyd would have killed that police officer, they'd be trying to inject his ass. Scratch, arrest. They would have gone right to capital murder. They'd have been trying to put the needle in his dude.
He might not even have left the incident. He might have been shot right there.
Yeah, shot on sight. Absolutely.
No doubt. And so, and you know me, I don't just say no doubt to, a lot of people say certain things. There's certain situations that are undeniable, and there's very little doubt in my mind that guy lives if he would have killed him, especially in front of other police officers. So just because you're a police officer, your life is not more valuable. My life wasn't more valuable as a Marine. I was going over there. I signed up. If I died, I died. If you kill me, and Glenn, I don't know if you know this or not, but once a Marine, always a Marine. So if I get killed by somebody, they killed a Marine, period. So does that mean they get a worse sentence than if they killed Glenn? No.
So just to put things in perspective, in the Marine Corps, we are all equally worthless. So just a Full Metal Jacket joke. Sorry, I just had to lighten it a little bit.
I love it. I love it.
But, yeah. So, and then to go back to Fred's question, and I'm going to have a Joe Biden moment. What exactly did you say again?
Yeah. So that was me last episode. I had my Joe Biden breakdown froze. Sorry about that, America. I didn't mean to do that to you, but back and better than ever. As I was saying, social media is blowing up right now. Everybody's got an opinion, so they should. We'd like to see the opinions. What I'm seeing is a lot of disdain and more hatred, which I understand. I get it. We're all emotional, but I don't think we make things better by trying to justify the end to the means with violence or with more anger. I think the way we come to get this thing resolved is to come together. We need to come together because that's what the media does. They want us divided, right? The media wants us divided. If we're divided, we can't change anything. All we're going to do is keep fighting amongst each other, right?
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And I just think that this is a time, the government thrives. We talked about it last episode. The government thrives off of division. They thrive off of weakness. They thrive off of the downtrodden. And it allows them to hold all of the power. It allows them to be able to gain all of the wealth while people are arguing, fighting, and killing each other over pennies and over scraps, essentially. One thing that I did want to touch on really quick, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, but I did want to talk about Donald Trump. I did want to talk about his tweets really fast. And he sends mixed signals in the tweet because he does start off by saying, the people of Minneapolis are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. Part of me agrees with that. But then there's a part of me that says, nah, man, they're honoring him because this shit happens too much. And they want to make a lasting impression on the city. And they're angry.
I have the exact quote. Let me just read it off real quick.
Yeah,
the one that was two tweets. You're gonna read both tweets.
Yeah, the ones that were sent.
The two tweets.
Yeah, the ones that were sent at 12:58 this morning on Friday morning. I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city of Minneapolis. A total lack of leadership. Either the very weak radical left mayor, Jacob Fry, get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right. Then his next tweet followed right up. These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. And I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, and we will soon control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you. Now, I know one term right off the bat is going to be controversial right away. These thugs. Who are you referring to there, Mr. President?
Right, because there was just as many white people rioting as blacks. So you can't really use race there. I don't think that this is the time for name calling like Trump. Like, these are your American citizens. They're angry. They're pissed off. Why are you calling them names? Like, they're not thugs. These are good people that have been treated like thugs. and they're pissed off about it. It's just happened way too much. And I mean, we'll be here all day naming instances from Eric Garner to Sandra Bland to Trayvon. I mean, come on. This is way too many. I mean, even like this last week alone, I believe there was like 8 incidents. So I just don't think now's the time for name calling. They're not being thugs. They're being angry. Now, is what they're doing right? No, I don't think a riot is ever the right thing to do. But again, you can't think people are going to be angry and rational or angry and politically correct. You know, you can't dictate how somebody expresses their anger, right? Another thing that I wanted to talk about is when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Again, Trump, very smart, playing to his white nationalist, white supremacist base, because that's his base, because that quote, a lot of people don't know this, but that quote is a direct quote from the Miami chief of police from 1967 when directed specifically at, quote, Negro males ages 15 to 21 in an effort to cut crime in the city of Miami.
But Glenn, you can't, I have a huge issue. Is this going to, so this says remaining time 8:50. Did you already do the thing so that it should let us continue?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
Nah,
So
we might have to jump back on because I scheduled it before the purchase, so we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. You can't have it both ways. If most people don't know this, then it's not playing to his base, because the assumption, and I think it's a poor assumption to say
there's some very intelligent people that are in that base. I mean, there's some people that know their research.
But his base is me. His base is the people that I know. Nobody would have thought that that's what that meant.
Nah,
so
I don't agree with that.
Base.
I don't agree with that.
But you're not in the base. I am. So
but see, no. You're not his base. You're a supporter, but you're not his base.
What I'm saying, I understand that, but the base of Trump is not a fringe. The base is his people that have gone, okay, so, you know, we watch Brandon Tatum, we watch Channing or Crowder, whatever, you know, watch more Fox News than watch CNN, you know, and I don't go, I'm close. I'm borderline between his base, but the people that I see that are the base, the Waters World on, you know, Sean Hannity, right? They're not looking up whether or not this is a racist. I just always think it's muddy water when all of a sudden somebody goes, Richard Spencer's your base. I'm not saying you said that. I'm just saying that when
so you think it's just a coincidence that he took a direct quote from 1967 chief of police of Miami, Florida? That's a direct quote.
Right, but I would bet you that that's not the only time that sentence has been said. I would bet that it's I would bet you that it's the only time a president said it. Let me be clear. I disagree with even the sentiment of it, regardless of whether anybody said it or not.
Sure.
I disagree with the idea because I think that he's missing that. You know, to me, yes, some of these people are thugs. I believe they are. Some of them are. But it doesn't matter if I think some are or not. You don't say it because you're gaslighting people in a terrible situation. It's not the right move to make. I think he was wrong for saying it. So, but I just have to, I feel like I got to push back that I just don't think his base is not a racist base. It's not. I mean, you look at the stats,
when I say his base, when I say his base, and we talked about it a little bit. When I say his base, I'm referring to because "Make America Great Again" started out as a Trump slogan. Now, in a sense, the MAGA hat is almost turned into like a race baiting insignia in some sense. I don't think that's just my opinion. That's not a fact. That's my opinion. But it's my opinion based on, you know, you don't hear. And like you said, maybe Trump does say this, but you definitely don't hear it. You don't hear Trump making a concerted effort to go and say, hey, anybody that's walking around with a swastika around their neck, anybody that's walking around wearing a MAGA hat and flying a Confederate flag from their Jeep, you know, I don't want your votes. You know, we're all Americans. We all need to come together. He could very easily say that. And according to you, he has. I've never seen it.
I think the
I've never
MAGA hat
seen it.
was turned into a symbol like the Confederate flag. I don't
From
think
the
the
media.
intention. I don't think the intention was ever there to make it that way. But I think the media might have turned it that way because all you see are people getting beat up with those hats. You know what I mean? And I don't think those people meant any. I don't think
And
those
also
people
too,
meant any
well,
harm to him.
and it goes back to he just has such hateful and divisive rhetoric. Like it's like his emotions are so fickle. I mean, why?
And
why
I
at a
agree
time
with
like
his
this?
with his tweets that came out early this morning. There was a better way to address
Absolutely,
the city of
absolutely.
Minneapolis.
He's so divisive. I mean, right now, man, the city of Minneapolis is going through some stuff. Mayor Jacob Fry he's under a lot of pressure right now. Like
if you're talking to North Korea, be stern, be aggressive.
be
That's
stern,
what
but
you
these
do.
are your people. He
Right.
makes it seem like he's not on the side of Jacob Fry. Like at the end of the day, he's a mayor for one of your cities.
Right.
Why are you calling him very weak? Why are you referring to him as radical? Why do you have to throw the term leftist in there? You know, why are you like criticizing him while he's going through this instead of saying, hey, you know, we see what you're going through. You know, the military's here. I'm here for you. Give me a call if you need any help. You know, I've spoken
making
to
it very political, making a situation very political when it doesn't need
Yeah,
to be.
exactly.
But he's not the
anytime-
only one. He's not the only one making it very political. I think a
But
lot of
he's
the
the
news outlets are
president.
making this. A lot of the news outlets are making this very political, and
Yes,
that's what's driving
yes.
us apart.
But he's the president, though, and he has the ability and the power to shut shit down. He can shut that down, right? Just like in the beginning when he was calling
He can't
out
shut
fake
the
news.
media down now.
Well, he can't shut the media down, but I'm saying he can denounce all of that. I mean, like in the beginning of his presidency when he was calling out fake news and everything, and people criticized him for that. You know, they were saying, you know, why would you devalue our media source? You know, like now we're actually starting to see a part of him is very, very correct, right? But then it also goes back to Trump himself puts out a lot of fake news. And I think it's very telling just even with these last tweets when, you know, Twitter essentially said, well, you know, fact check. It's like, you know, you can't put
but Twitter was
BS
way wrong.
And then when people start fact checking you,
But
you want to
Twitter
call for
lied
different
on
legislation. You want to
I
call
mean,
for different
Twitter lies
legislation.
on that. You go back 5 years and every Democrat said paper ballots is a terrible idea. Now all of a sudden they want it. You know, that's a different discussion for another day. But, you know, yes, he's divisive. He definitely plays to
he plays to a white nationalist group, man. You got let me say it.
Well,
Hold on.
nationalist? Yes, I'm a proud nationalist. I love my country.
Okay, a nationalist and a white nationalist are two totally different things.
Correct.
Very
And the white nationalists do not like Trump. Just so you know, and maybe people don't know this, so hopefully America will watch this. The white nationalists don't like Trump because Trump is very pro-Jew, and nationalists do not like Jews. So if people do not understand that, they can go do the research. Those guys do not like Trump. The Richard Spencer denounced him after, Trump had already denounced him. Trump denounced him.
And just to kind of touch on that as well, too, half of that statement is correct in my opinion. Because, yes, white nationalists do not like Jews. They don't like anybody with white people.
Correct.
Which, like, what is that? Is that Irish? Is that German? Like, it's like, where's the line drawn? But You're right. They don't like Jews, but they don't not like Trump because of it. Because Trump's rhetoric speaks to their code of ethics. Specifically, that divisiveness, that hate-fueled talk, it speaks right to the white nationalist group, which is why you see them all the time still wearing the MAGA hats and shit. We see it.
Well,
all the time. What's that? Like you see it at his rallies. You see it. You see Confederate flags often.
No, I'll just tell you this. I've been to one. I didn't see any white nationalists, not a single one. So I saw a lot of
one in Annapolis.
Wearing no in Georgia.
Where you were in Annapolis.
In Georgia, but in
really?
My kids have MAGA hats. When they went to D.C., a black gentleman sold them a MAGA sweatshirt because we don't believe that we're not going to let somebody else, to me, the media, try to drum up what this is supposed to mean. So for me, if I go, hey, I think he can make, the things that I like about Trump that don't ever even get talked about. I talked to a guy today. He didn't know that he's done more for HBCUs than any president ever has. He's set if people don't know that, go do the research. It's there. What he did with the prison reform, he did more than people had done. And so, all I'm saying is that what we don't know is we don't know. To me, I look at it and go, hey, look, at the end of the day, the same people that voted for Obama are the ones that ended up swaying the vote and going for Donald Trump. A racist didn't vote for Obama, so that segment of society is going to vote for who they're going to vote for always. There's no value to that. That their vote doesn't matter enough to sway elections. That's why it's the people in the middle. It's the libertarians that pick who the president is, because if the economy is good, they go with this guy. If that guy has, if the economy is shitty, they're going to go the other way. And so those are the people that won. And, I believe that unfortunately the media is going to manipulate this situation, and they want to see Black people looting. They want to see them burning down buildings, the media on the left. And the reason being is because then they can go, then of course the right is going to go, well, why are we burning down buildings? And I'm trying to have the right understanding. Look, these people are seriously feeling disenfranchised and angry. They feel like that was their mother, their dad that was killed. Now, I feel that way too, because that's the type of person that I am. So it burns me. And so I want the other side to realize, dude, I'm there with you. And if you need a freedom fighter to walk into a building with a gun, don't take that out of context, Facebook, but I will strap my legal firearm and walk into a place that is legal to carry and defend my right and defend people's rights to be heard and appropriately go over legislation that can make a difference. Because the society might, but the media does not want the people coming together. They want to divide us. They want people to go, like, this is terrible. I don't care what people think of Trump. But if Trump could end this, there are people out there go, nope, I wouldn't be okay with it if Trump did it. Like, that is, to me, I don't care. If Biden comes up with the right answer, then Biden has the right answer. I don't give a damn who it is, right? We've got to put all that stuff down and go, let's come up with solutions and let's fix this issue and bring this country together. And I believe it can be done if everyone's going to have to concede something. White people are going to have to learn and understand that people might be upset about something they've never had to deal with. And maybe it's different than they feel. Well, just shut up and listen, and then you'll feel it. And if you don't, then just shut up and let them feel a certain way.
So that's the thing, though, right? That's the thing, though, right? We've all been like in these, not in this particular situation, but Kenny, you voiced your opinion before. You've had your run-ins. I've had my run-ins. I'm sure Glennon's had his run-ins. We've all been in a situation where, holy moly, I thought the cops were supposed to protect and serve. And Glenn, you brought this up the other night. I said protect and serve. It's more like it's been like punish and enslave of late. You know what I mean? It's all about revenue now. It's not about protecting your fellow citizen. It's not about making sure you're coming to help and de-escalate a situation. When a cop comes to your window and the first thing they say is not, hey, how you doing? Just need to see your license registration. Trying to keep things calm. They come up and say, put your hands on the steering wheel right now. It kind of gets things out of, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, you're automatically on the defensive. And without these videos, without the audio, I don't know what's going on, but something happened. And obviously it didn't justify the end. I don't know what we got to do, training for these police. And again, we've said this before, it's not all police. This was a select handful. And I understand the frustration that, hey, you show me the good instances of cops doing something good. You won't see that. You're not going to see that. It happens every day. I've seen videos where the white cop goes and plays basketball with the black kids in the inner city, and he brings Shaq the next time. All right? That's a one instance case, and that's the only reason why you saw that is because Shaq was involved. You know what I mean? So you're not going to see all these cases. That's not newsworthy. The news isn't going to play all the good cases. The news wants something that you're going to tune into. And you know what? As a society, we need to get better because we tune into the bad news more than the good news. So that's what they're putting on TV.
Yeah. It's pretty sad that drama gets more views. Drama and negativity gets higher ratings. That needs to change. That needs to change. I mean, people would rather see people lose than win. And just to me personally, I don't not like Trump. Like Trump, at the end of the day, is our president. I want to see him win. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well, because if he succeeds, America succeeds. And I think a lot of people don't have the ability to put their emotions aside and be literal in that sense. It's easier said than done, again, but I don't want to see Trump fail, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Americans, right?
We're all Americans.
What we're supposed to be anyway.
And so now we have a great opportunity. We have a great opportunity now to come together. I mean, it is a shame. It is extremely sad that George Floyd had to die the way that he did. He was in pain. He suffered. We saw it. It was awful.
But let's make it meaningful, right? Let's make it meaningful.
But a part of me is like, man, I don't think that his death is going to be in vain. I think there's just as many outraged white people as there are black people. And I think now this is a time for us to come together constructively and do something about it. And Kenny, like you said, you had went live earlier. I don't know, one of the suggestions that you made, and we talked about it right before we hopped on here, was because one of the arguments right now is that how come white people can show up at government buildings with guns drawn and they're still respected? You know, they're not maced, tear gassed, hosed down. But, you know, if black people did that, you know, essentially we would be met with some sort of violence. And as a black man, I do agree with that, but I don't think that it's like black people have to take some accountability. And I know there's a lot of black people that aren't going to want to hear this, but Malcolm X laid it out. He laid out the blueprint perfect, and white people are the only ones that are executing it. So when white people show up, first of all, it is our Second Amendment right. We can bear arms. When they show up at government buildings, they're organized. They're organized, and they are bearing arms to ensure that their rights are not violated. And they're ready to go for war.
I think
they're ready to die for their rights.
I think
black people are not organized.
I think one major difference, though, is with the white people that recently have showed up to government buildings are fighting to get back to work, to have their constitutional rights restored.
Exactly, but doesn't even call for any sort of
right.
guns
But this instance is very emotional. So if you show up with a gun, very emotional, it's a little different. You know what I mean? Like I agree with that too. But again, you know, because back in the 50s, it was very emotional too. Malcolm X, when he showed up with 100 armed Muslims marching, organized, ready to die for their rights, and Malcolm X looked at the chief of police and said, "Get my brother out of there." Guess what happened? They went and got his black ass out of there, right? Because they were going to have a bloodbath in the middle of the streets over one black man, and the chief of police knew that. He felt that. He saw that in the eyes of those Muslims. They were organized. They were ready to die for their rights. So there's got to be some sort of self-accountability here with that. Like, we can do the same thing. I guarantee you, if 1,000 black people were organized, and out of that 1,000, 250 of them were armed and ready to ensure that nobody's rights got violated. But they were organized, and you know, they showed up at government buildings with legislation that they want change. Yeah. Right. Well, and that's the other part too, because now we have an opportunity to come together in a more powerful way, because you know, there's just as many outraged white people. So, for example, like we just saw in the riots, and I'm going to phrase it this way. This might kind of enrage a few people on the right, but I'm going to phrase it this way. But white people were essentially standing in between the rioters, and there were several white rioters as well too. But this is the way police officers look at it. Like, if it's a majority black crowd and there's just a few white rioters, oh, they could become you know, they're casualties. You know what I mean? Like, you're mixed in, you're with a few blacks, you're a casualty at that point. But when you have a row of white people, and we saw the videos, exercising their white privilege to protect the majority black rioters, and I refer to it as white privilege because that's exactly what it is, because if they hadn't have been standing there, they would have been met with some sort of violence. All of a sudden, you got a wall of white people, and the cops are exercising restraint. So that in and of itself, like, I appreciate that, but that almost enrages black people even more,
because it's like it's like.
Well, that's why I'm saying that there can be some concession to it. Like, look, I understand that Black people want to do this alone, but if there's got to be a point where you go, we've been there.
Well, we really don't, though. We really don't want to do it alone. I mean, like,
but I'm saying,
Yeah, he's
as
saying he can
opposed
understand if they want to.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying from the standpoint of going, man, fuck, I don't even need you guys. We'll do this ourselves. And I'm saying, hold on, because there is a group of patriots out there that are riders. You know, they want to ride. Like,
Yeah.
and
We just want to see the right thing done. I think that's a lot of people want the right thing done. What that is, I think we can get there. I don't know what the solution is yet, but what we're dealing with on the regular now is unjust, and it has to change.
right. And so
Yeah, so I mean, riding is only going to get us but so far. Riding is only going to get us but so far. I think Jacob Fry is doing the best he can with what he has. I don't think this is a time where we need to be judging somebody's job. We need to be coming together more often. He's not weak or anything like that, you know, and he's not going to, at the end of the day, he values the lives of his citizens. So he's not going to be so quick to say something as ridiculous as when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
Yeah.
That's just so disingenuous, right? These are his people, and they're Trump's people too. And I wish Trump would sound like that instead of creating this wall of division with his words.
He's trying to nip it in the bud, and it was the wrong words to use.
Yep.
It was just very cavalier. Like,
again, it sounded like he was
I'm trying to
talking
put
to
it
North
nicely.
Korea instead of talking to his own people.
well, I don't necessarily think it was cavalier. I feel like it was just poor leadership. The words are wrong. The message was wrong.
very brash. Very brash.
It sounded like a
I think
CEO talking to one of
I
his
think
managers.
He missed. I mean, he was trying to be
I think he was trying to be stern
right.
because he wants it to stop immediately, but
Right.
we want the injustice to stop.
Yeah,
immediately.
Stern
You
is
gotta meet
not
us in the middle somewhere.
Stern is not the hand you want to use right now.
No,
For
because there's
sure.
too many emotions, and he started to see it. Like I said, we've got cars being burned in Atlanta. We got I don't know if you guys are watching the news. LA, Baltimore starting to riot. So I mean, it's Chicago. Chicago's going off the hook right now.
The issue with rioting and looting is we seen it in Missouri back in 2014. That city is still trying to recover. There's still an economic destruction. The city of what was it? In Missouri.
Yeah.
What's his name? What was the case?
You talking about Michael Brown?
Yeah. So in Missouri, right? They burnt down that whole city back in 2014. They're still trying to recover. Same thing's going to happen here with the COVID-19, and I think that has a lot to do with the aggression you're seeing here too. A lot of these people have been locked up for 2 months, a month and a half. Dude, if you've been inside for so long, you got a lot of pent up aggression and you got to get out. And it just seems like it's the perfect storm right now. The bad terminology, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It's a great analogy. I mean, it is. It's the unperfect storm. You know what I mean?
It's right,
like
exactly. It's just like, man, you had this come at you, and we're dealing with this, and we're all kind of frustrated. You know, we're already saying, hey, let's stay inside. Let's go back to work. So we're already at different ends of the spectrum, and then this happens with the 2 other cases that happened before this, and now we're just like this.
So, guys, do we have go ahead, Kenny, because I have a question. So if you had a statement based off of his last, I know we talked about some solutions. Does anybody have any constructive solutions moving forward that maybe we can shed some light on the American people as to how to move forward with all this?
So 2 things. One, I'm going to give some suggestions now, but if you are watching this on Facebook Live and you have suggestions, feel free. Now would be your time to type it in there. If you know, and we can come back to it, and we'll look at that and try to address those if anybody brings that up.
And really quick, guys, if you comment right now on Facebook Live, you know, we can actually go over some of your questions now on live. That's why we decided to go live with it as well, so we can answer your questions live.
Yep. So to me, one of the things that I wanted to look at was that, you know, my goal is if we can get police interactions down, then I feel like statistically speaking that we might be able to make we'll drop that death count down now. Like, it doesn't necessarily directly affect if a cop is doing a poor job, but it does mean less interactions, would mean percentage-wise, you should have a less amount of deaths. And so, to me, the low-hanging fruit there is you had 41 million speeding tickets last year. I've talked about this before, but I really think that we're a society now where people should just get either reckless driving or you're not reckless driving. I think people are often pulled over for speeding in an attempt to break your civil rights, to hope that you're breaking the law some other way. And they want to be able to look in your car. They want to be able to try to figure out something else. And black people are feeling like they're pulled over just because they're black. And maybe they're going 8 miles over the speed limit or something, you know, and as an excuse, because let's be honest, there are cops out there that see a black man at 2 in the morning, they're thinking he's on drugs. They see a white man at 2 in the morning, he's drunk. They're putting these preconceived notions in their head, and
it's all stereotypes.
Yes, and then they're doing it. I mean, you know, the other day they lined up and had police just stopping every car that went by, and it's like, under what authority? Like, that kind of shit should just stop. You know, to me, that is the same type of stop and frisk.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, there's like checkpoints and things like that. I think there's a time and a place for them. Like, if a prisoner in the area just escaped or something like that, and now you got a checkpoint set up, that makes sense. But to just have like DUI checkpoints, you're violating people's rights. You're just stopping people, holding people up, creating traffic. And why? Like, the police can be doing something better with their time. Like, that's resources and tax dollars.
And this is something that did happen to Donald Trump, and I wish people would be, you know, it's one of the things that enrage me. When it comes to the law, the way it's supposed to work is a crime is committed, and then you find the perpetrator. You're not supposed to find a crime. That is such a money grab. And I looked up something, and let me tell you, if you compare England, okay, to the cities in America, in England, you have far, far less crime, far less shootings of civilians, and they have 1 cop per almost 500 people. In Baltimore, you have 1 cop per 200 people. Well, you're looking for shit because there's not 1 out of 200 people aren't murderers. So you're dealing with a bunch of mundane crap, and you're jazzing up the numbers, and you're setting up people where people are running your tags and they're playing these stupid games. And look, if you're caught, they have systems now where you drive by something. If your tags are expired, send them something in the mail. They have tags. They got to have their stuff updated at the NBA. If they don't, it goes on their credit report. There's ways to get people. You don't need to have this over-policing. We're way, way too over-policed. And so, to me, you look at 41 million stops for speeding. That's not including people.
That's just crazy to me. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
that's just speeding. That's not traffic violations. That's just
That's not the brake light out. That's not the tail light out.
That's just speeding.
Right. That's not a tail light out. That's not. I mean, there's so many different traffic violations. It would probably be over 300. It would probably be just. There's 350 million people in America. It's probably just that many traffic violations if we look them all up.
Everybody has been pulled over at least once.
41 million a year. I mean, to me, you're just putting people in a poor situation a whole bunch of times. And for what reason? I mean, let's be honest. You know, this is what's going to divide people, because if you're black and you get pulled over by a white cop, there's going to be a part of you that goes, dude, if you'd have pulled over that white dude, you'd have just given him a warning. Right? Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We don't know. I've gotten warnings before. A girl with a real nice rack might get a lot more warnings than me. Right? I mean, there's certain things that, to me, and the police have got to get much, much better, because as I was looking through stuff, they are terrible at record keeping, and they need to be meticulous with their documentation, especially with the new cameras. They have got to be meticulous, which means they should be making less stops, because then it'll give them more time to do the correct stuff. And I wish we had a police officer that could give me some, debate there, but to me, there's way too many laws. And I'm sorry, I'm not proud of you because you caught somebody with $100,000 of marijuana and you have the money and the money goes to the city. Like, I'm not proud of you. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
Right.
I just read something today about some guy getting caught with $20,000 worth of weed. I don't honestly give a shit. So, and you know what? Like, if that would have ended up taking Breonna Taylor's life, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
And I'll be honest with you, man, and not to like separate drugs, like one drug is less or more worse or anything like that. There's not too many people that have murdered people over marijuana, bro. I mean, like, you just got to be real about it. Like, I don't care how much it is. Like, people aren't really shooting people over weed. It's just not happening. Like, it's not. I'm not saying it hasn't happened in the past, right. But nowadays, I mean, it's just, especially with it being legalized. I mean, people aren't killing.
Yeah, people just sneak somebody and take the bag. Seen that happen, by the way.
All right, so like Lennon was saying, what solutions do we have? Do we have any? Because honestly, all I know is the fighting and the bickering and the clickbait information that we see on social media is just that. Like, all you're doing is instigating more conflict with these memes. And I get it. It's your opinion, and I'm not trying to tell you not to have your opinion. But we got to do something to bring us together, not to continue to divide us.
Well, I think Kenny touched on it a little bit when he was talking about, you know, in terms of people coming together to create more legislature. I think we can definitely come together, black and white, which I think would be more powerful. We have a huge opportunity to unite. And I think that black people, even though it would enrage us that we have to have white people amongst us to make sure we're treated fairly, at the end of the day, that's progress. And I don't care what the means are, as long as we get the solution we're looking for. You know, that's how we have to start looking at this thing. Also, too, if we do want to take on legislation by ourselves, you know, we have the right to show up at government buildings with guns drawn too, right? But it can't be one of us or 10 of us, right?
I wouldn't have them drawn, but you can have your weapon.
Yeah, not drawn, but well, some of them had them like out, like, you know, they have
right.
like a
you can have it both strapped.
Like put it down, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you could be locked, loaded, and ready, right? To ensure that your rights aren't violated. And I can assure you, they won't be. At the end of the day, nobody wants a bloodbath. Nobody wants that. And kind of to go back to what you were talking about, Fred, like, yeah, it wasn't so emotional. You know, when people are just, you know, protesting about going back to work. I don't even think, I think they kind of overuse their power a little bit. Like they should, but, you know, that just goes to show you that even white people don't trust cops. Like because they know, like, hey, our rights could potentially be violated as well. We're going to make sure that even though we're just protesting to go back to work, we're not going to be violated in that way, right? We're not going to stand back. I mean, I've seen such awful things. We're not going to stand back and watch our women be punched by a male officer. We're not going to stand back and watch, you know, my 14-year-old son be thrown to the ground by a grown-up. It's not going to happen, right? These are things that happen every day to the black community. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to the white, but we just don't see it. And I think that when Trump first started calling out fake news, a part of me agreed with the overall media that was, you know, pushing back against that. Now I see it. There's a lot of fake news. I don't think it's been ever more prevalent. And a part of me respects Trump for calling that out. In the beginning, a lot of people hated him for it, but it took guts to call that out. And it's the truth. We see a lot of fake news. And just after talking, we're in our 4th episode now, and apparently Trump has denounced white supremacy and swastika flags and Confederate flags. They don't show it. We don't see it. Why? Like, it's crazy that they wouldn't show that, because again, drama sells. And I think that that's bullcrap, because drama, like you're not thinking of lives. You're not thinking of the lives of people. Like, you could save real lives. Like, you could bring, you could promote inclusiveness and unity. But instead, you're just being selfish. Like the media outlets are just being selfish. They just want ratings. They just want a hot story. Money. Yeah, you know, money. So
I want to give a little.
It's terrible, man.
While you're crossing over some compliments to people you don't, I'm going to throw one out there as well. I saw or heard a tweet by Amy Klobuchar today, and you know, I'm very interested to hear. I don't care whether you have a D next to your name, an R, an I don't care. I don't care. I want to hear solutions, and I don't care. I do believe that they need to come. I think there needs to be more. We need to listen to what the Black community says, because I don't think it means I'm never going to adhere to the idea that it has to be from a Black person, but I would want to hear their opinion in terms of the, we would call it Black society or whatever you want to call their leadership. And everybody speaks for themselves, but I would like to see, I want people all at the table, and that voice has got to be heard. 14 or whatever it is, 12, 14% of the population, they've got to be heard. They've got to be involved in it, because it's got to be their thing, so that we can keep moving forward with it. Because, just white people going, I think I got the answer. And it's like, if you're not, and liberals do that all the time. And don't get me wrong, people on the right do it too, but white liberals just think they somehow have this, because we've been, because so many blacks are liberals, I can just say what the hell ever, and Black people are going to agree with me.
I think if you try and turn this into a political argument, you're going to have people tune off just like that.
And they do. And they do.
Absolutely.
We need something more to bring us together, not keep us divided. If you're going to make this a D and an R thing, people are going to be out. They're going to be done. All right. We need to find out what we can do to make people come like this and not like this.
And people are ready for it now, man. People are just so sick of divisive rhetoric. People are just so sick of seeing people being murdered on TV. It doesn't matter what color they are. Because like you said, Kenny, and I'm glad that you said it, it's very easy to look at a George Floyd and think another Black man being murdered. But you really spelled it out very well when you said, no, another human being being murdered. And I think we used to think that, but when you just start seeing it so much, so many times again happening to Black people at the hands of white cops, again, one time, okay, 2 times, maybe 10 times, like, nah, this shit ain't right. But ultimately, I mean, he was murdered. He was murdered in one of the most horrific ways, and I think people are outraged. And I definitely think that his murder is going to have a lot more good come of it than just him being murdered. And as sad as it is, I hope that they find something. Something substantial to charge the other 3 officers with. They need to be held accountable.
Yeah,
and,
I don't.
So
I don't
legislatively, Glennon, what was your what would be your something that you may suggest that you think would go a long way towards actually getting to, making a change so that we can get that number down. And I'm not the type of person that says we're going to end terrorism or we're going to end racism. Ain't gonna happen. Like, I don't know whoever thinks that shit. I wish, but it's not gonna happen. But to get that number down, what thing do you think that we could, what could we beat to the drum to say, hey, look, politicians, if you don't listen to us, we're gonna pick new ones. I want this.
Well, there's got to be some sort of legislation that's holding these police officers accountable, in equal sense to where the average citizen is being held accountable. And we can go over some specifics there. But I know, Kenny, like in the last show, you had mentioned that, we kind of went back and forth a little bit. And I had said consequences changes things, right? And you said, yeah, but, that person, it's not going to change whether or not they're racist. No, but it is going to affect whether or not they choose to act in a negative way based on their racism. That would just be like,
or it might stop the next person seeing the consequence laid out for that person, stopping the next person from doing the same crime.
Right, exactly. Just like there's consequences for criminals, as there should be, but you wouldn't say, oh, well, even though because there's consequences for criminals, it's not going to stop them from being a criminal if that's who they truly are. You wouldn't say that, right? Consequences change things, right? So if you're a racist, cool, you can be a racist, and you can continue to be a racist behind bars, right?
But the counter argument is we do have laws and lock people away for child molestation, and there still is child molesters out there that happen to just
absolutely. If they're a child molester, they get out of jail and they do the same thing. So
right.
It's not about really trying to change someone's psyche or change someone's. We're talking about an entire paradigm shift. We're not talking about going that deep with it. But I think that there needs to be some sort of legislation. And so, for example, I think that there should be legislation specifically for cops. And because I think that if there is a specific law written in terms of a citizen, an American citizen being murdered unjustly, and it's on film, it's on camera, I think if it's like, I don't know, I don't really like mandatories, but
I know it wasn't
in the
premeditated.
case of an Eric Garner or a George Floyd, yeah, I think a mandatory 35 years, like if something like that was on the books, we would start seeing a lot less of it. Does it change the fact that we're going to have racist cops? No. But does it save the life of another black man? Absolutely.
Possibly.
The laws for us, like the first degree, the second degree, the third degree, make kind of sense because we're just normal citizens, right?
Right.
But for the police, like third degree murder, that seems kind of lenient. I know it's the law.
I mean, you're walking around with a gun. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
I mean, I know it's
people
the
are not
law.
like, people aren't bucking at you. Like, people aren't like trying. People don't want no static with a cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going around trying.
But you are in a position of authority. You do have that extra. You do have that extra swag, so to speak, to where people don't want to mess with you, and that should
You should be held to a higher standard.
Exactly. There you
Absolutely.
go. That's
So when
the
you
right
fuck
thing.
up,
I
you should
think-
be held to a higher standard as well too.
And this is where, to me, I'm for less laws but harsher penalties. So for me,
For
if you're gonna
everybody,
have-
for everybody,
what'd you say?
for
Right.
everybody all across the board, not just cops.
Yeah. I mean, if you kill somebody in cold blood, like, and you're out in 7 years, I don't care whether you were, but to me, I am okay with a police officer killing somebody in cold blood and me killing somebody in cold blood. The police officer gets 5 extra years or something on his minimum because he went through, he was hired to help people. Yes, I'm not expected to murder anybody, but I'm still just an average Joe. I'm not getting a paycheck from the state, right? I'm not getting a paycheck from the federal government to protect people. I don't have a sidearm on me all the time that was issued to me from the federal government. So to me, you have a higher, just like in the Marine Corps, yes, we could get in the court system, but we live by the UCMJ. It was a different, we could be publicly hanged when somebody else could not be that way.
Right. You have more responsibility. Like, it is what it is. You're expected. That more is expected out of you. And you just have to own it. You have to own it. And one thing I don't want to do is I don't want police officers like tiptoeing around their job. I don't want them to feel like they got to walk on eggshells either.
No,
right?
but you don't want them to go for a headshot. You don't want them to go for a headshot in a situation when all it justifies is a shot to the leg to stop the individual from running. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, they shouldn't be aiming anywhere for the torso or especially the back, right? Where you could shoot them in the kneecap and
I'm
with
very
your
against
sidearm.
shooting in the back, but I will tell you, I fan fired and qualled with a 9mm, and there's a lot of horrible shots. So,
I mean, I know it's easier said than
it's
done.
so much
obviously.
easier said than done. But again, you should really feel like your life is in danger to pull that trigger. You better be damn sure.
If you're aiming for the head, if you can hit the head, you can hit an arm or a leg. All right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But the idea
and
that
if you're too fat to chase them, then you shouldn't shoot them. Like, that's that's on you.
Yes, and I actually like that argument better because the problem is you could shoot somebody in the head and be like, shit, I meant to hit lower left leg, right? But nobody's going to believe that. They watch movies and the guy shoots exactly where he wants to shoot. That's not how it works. I'm telling you, I was in a line of 9 people, and there were some people that did not hit the damn target, and you only shoot from, I think it's 9.
Or they hit your target instead of their own.
Yeah, it's bad, okay? Especially when you're dealing with handguns, 9mm. One of the most inaccurate weapons unless you've got a light sight on it. So there's some different things there. But, we should do more non-lethal. There's no reason that we don't. There's people shooting for no gosh damn reason at all. You should never shoot somebody in the back. If somebody gets away, live to fight another day. You're going to have to catch them and do good old-fashioned place work. I think it would be very interesting, and I don't know exactly the numbers. I'll do some more research. I'll listen to some experts. but we should almost have as many detectives as we do police officers. That's the way I really think, because I would rather have 3 guys studying to see if they can figure out who killed some child than if they can connect the dots on finding out who the guy that brought the coke into DC is. Because guess what? When you get that guy, there's another guy that's going to bring coke into DC. So you're really just spending time trying to get money. And I totally believe it's about money. They want to get the book. They're so proud of themselves when they got this money and the drugs off the street. You didn't get any drugs off the street. You think they can't just bring the next shipment over? It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Nobody brings drugs off the street. I don't give a damn if you stop. You sink the ship, another ship's just coming on over. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's kind of wrap this up here. What are our final thoughts here, guys?
Final thoughts. I think Trump needs to take a class on EQ, better known as emotional intelligence. Where the hell is his PR person with his Twitter account? He needs assistance, clearly wording things.
Needs to have a filter before he hits the send button.
He just needs to. It's not even a filter. Like a part of me appreciates the fact that he speaks from. I guess it's that speaking from the heart. I mean, it comes off so divisive.
I mean, it just means that it's coming from him. You know what I mean? Like
it's coming from him, and a part of me appreciates that authenticity. But he needs to. I don't know what he needs, man. He needs help formatting his shit.
Well, again, like we touched on earlier, the way he goes about it is just his way. This instance was very wrong, in my opinion.
Very wrong, very wrong. I think cops need to start being held accountable more. And I think it is my true belief that we're going to start seeing a lot more of that after this. Again, going back to the statistic, 93% of Americans have cameras in their pockets now. So I think the more that we begin to see footage of these atrocities happen, the more we're going to start seeing people being held accountable. And then, of course, we have, we've got, I believe they said the services for George Floyd are going to be held next Monday down in Houston, which is where he's from. My sincere condolences to the Floyd family, all of his friends and loved ones. I know we talk about it, but I want to be clear that, his life is more than just some Friday night topic or some Saturday morning topic. 46 years old, was in Minneapolis for a work trip. It's just an absolute tragedy that he had to die like that. He suffered, he died in pain. And I really hope that the American people can come together on this. And again, Trump has done some things for prison reform. I think that in the wake of George Floyd, things need to probably move faster. And I don't really know what all of the nuts and bolts to get things moving, to really get things moving and implemented are. But I think that we really need to make a concerted effort to get things going in the right direction here. And again, I want to end my final thoughts with, America, don't allow a few racist white people to shed your memory of all the great white people that are out there. Because, there's tons of them. And that's not the majority. That's just, again, what the media wants to portray. Just like all black people aren't thugs. Most black people aren't thugs. Most white people aren't racist. Let's come together. Let's stop virtue signaling. Let's be, it's easier said than done again, but let's be positive and let's love one another. God bless America. Kenny?
Amen, brother. So on the Floyd's funeral, I would really hope, I hope that I hope there's people that show up, that show this man that what his death brought is something that is going to be memorable, not for riots, not for political points, but that we can come together as a nation and hopefully one day, 20 years from now, we go, where did all those, where was the big change? And you say the big change was when this gentleman Floyd and that picture is going to mean something different, because it is a true atrocity and it's terrible. And I think there is opportunity. I think it stinks that it came at his life, but for most of us out there, we want our lives to mean something, and it always means something, but hopefully his can mean much more than he ever would have even thought because of this situation. And my prayers and heart goes out to his family and his loved ones, and I hope they, can feel the comfort that they need to feel. I totally hope that Trump can put down his political jostling for the election. I understand it's an election time, and I do believe he had a really good 3 years, and this has been the craziest year of most of our lives. And so, but I don't care when it comes to the reasons behind it. He has to be less divisive. I really hope that all of us can really look at each other and understand that, look, and this is me speaking out, Glenn spoke out to the society that looks at white people and says this is the majority, and it's not. And I'm going to look out and tell people that might not understand this, and I'm not saying it's okay to riot, and I'm not saying it's okay to loot, but what you have to understand is that you don't quite understand. Just understand that you don't quite understand, and that people are very passionate, they're hurting, they're in a lot of pain, and they may do some things that you don't agree with. Give it a little bit of time, let people come back down to a baseline, and then keep that energy so that we can go forward and join, because there's a lot of people, and for the that may be looking like thugs to you, and they're not. They're just hurt. Just the same way that if somebody was to smack your mom and you're a pretty mellow person, but all of a sudden you come out of character, well, everybody comes out of character sometimes. So let's not look at each other. That's what the media is going to want to do. They're going to want to make white conservatives and people on the right look like they're Nazis, and they're going to try to convince those good people, white people on the right, that the black people are thugs, and then the black left is going to try to convince the right, or try to convince their base that all whites are racist, hateful people, and that this will never get solved, because that's what the media wants. So let's come together. This is a great opportunity for me. I'm so grateful to be able to share this show with Glenn and Fred. And, I just think we can do great things, and I want people to keep the energy, but let's focus on solutions, and let's try not to be so judgmental on each other, and try to be more understanding.
Oh, there it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 4 from Contra-Dictions. Hopefully we did some kind of justice, brought multiple viewpoints, facts to the table. I hope you enjoyed it. Please keep tuning in. Respond to us on the comments on Facebook. Send us email, contra.dictions.us@gmail.com. Please stick with us. Whatever you want to see or talked about, let us know. We will talk about it. We'll give it our honest opinions. We're just normal people like you, trying to voice what we think's the right thing to do. And hopefully we're getting that across. At the end of the day, we are all Americans. Nobody wants to see this happen to any human being on the planet. And unfortunately, we're going through this, but let's go through it together. As my counterpart said, at the end of the day, let's find solutions. All right? Stay safe out there, America. We love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time.